So this goes out to all the people who are watching now and who will be watching this show recorded tomorrow on YouTube. A lot of you I know are from television. You've been in television for a while. A lot of my colleagues from different platforms. If you are a television professional, you would have heard the legendary story of the making of Kaun Banega Crorepati, right? You would have heard it in conversations. You would have heard it during job interviews. In fact, you would have even read it in a book now, right? Sameer, I don't know if you know this. If you type Kaun on a mobile phone, the AI is so brilliant right now. The next word that is prompted is Banega. And you okay that, it comes to Crorepati. So try it on your phone. The moment you type Kaun, it takes it to Kaun Banega Crorepati. So the man who defined Star Plus, who redefined Star Plus from the bold and the beautiful, right, to India's #1 channel with the relaunch of Amitabh Bachchan and the launch of KBC and the ever successful Balaji Soaps on Star Plus, right? These shows went on to make Star Plus the #1 channel in India and an undisputed leader for 9 full years. The man who revamped Channel V, launched Star Gold, Vijay, won Utsav, and pretty much gets credited today as well for being the cornerstone of what Star India continues to be. In fact, in early 2000, all 50 out of 50 shows used to be on Star Plus. I remember when Star had slipped to 48 out of 50 shows. And we could feel the tremors in the offices of Star all the way from Mumbai to Delhi, where I was employed in 205-206 Okhla Industrial Estate. That's the definition of dominance, right? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how many ladies and how many gentlemen, but all of you presenting Sameer Nair, the creative genius.
Hi, Pankaj. How are you doing? Thank you for that very kind, complimentary introduction.
I hope the facts are all right. They're all in the public domain. How does it feel, Sameer? How does it feel to be the most powerful man in the most powerful network in India when you are barely 40?
Well, actually,
2006, I'm taking you back.
I've read the book myself, the one that Vanita was kind enough to write.
Right.
In many ways, I think when we look back, at stuff that happens in our lives, it all becomes a sort of a part of history or a part of storytelling, and it tends to telescope events into sort of milestones.
Yeah.
So I really look at my life is that I joined Star in 1994. It was 6 years before I actually did KBC. There was a lot of rough and tumble. We used to be the Angrezon ke zamane ke managers. Then Ratikant Basu came along. Then there was 2-3 years of Ratikant Basu. Then we did the whole revamp. Then KBC happened, Kyunki happened. Then 6 years happened. But typically when you read the story or when you sort of recount it, it's that KBC happened, there was Kyunki and Kahani, and then 6 years or 9 years of complete dominance. But my life was really a day-to-day life, and each of those were, battles that were fought day to day. There were teams, there were, colleagues, there were shows, there was a flood, all sorts of things.
There were people flying down with tapes from Asia to Hong Kong.
Amazing used to happen. We had flights booked every night. That time there was no internet to transfer it in that sense. So we had flights booked every night to Hong Kong, 365 days a year. And, people used to go every day. So many things happened. So, obviously, now when you look back, and it was a great period and very successful and sure, we turned around the fortunes for Star, for Mr. Bachchan, for ourselves. I think everyone benefited. I think Indian television benefited. I think the Indian consumer benefited. So it was good. We were able to drive the cable revolution. We were able to drive, I think when KBC went on air, there were 25 million homes. By the time, by 2009, 2010, there were about 100 million homes. So, the scale of growth that happened in that period. Advertising grew, everything happened. So I was happy, I guess. I was living the dream. So you don't get really, when you're living the dream, you don't really get a chance to dream. You're just living it.
Absolutely. Those were the days.
Well, I think these are the days as well. Not in a sense, I think what's important is to, always, remember and recall fondly all the wonderful things that have happened, and then have that constant sort of desire to keep going, to keep looking for new things to do, new things to conquer, new things to create.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what. So I was. It's like asking Sunny Deol to recite the 2.5 kilo ka haath dialogue. I know it's like that. But I want you to tell us, we've all wanted to hear that meeting on when the show was Kaun Banega Lakhpati, which you guys presented to Murdoch, and how it moved on to a crore, right? And everyone wants to hear about that. Many of us have read it. I've heard it firsthand during my star days. But can you take a minute to just walk through that?
Okay, so we are doing this big review with Rupert. This is happening in February of 2000.
Masterpiece.
At Masterpiece in the boardroom. And Rupert's come to India after quite a while, because for 2-3 years he had not come to India because of various things that were going on. So we are meeting him after some time. What has happened so far is that the split with Z has been formalized. So we are going to go all Hindi now. I have now decided that we are going to do Kaun Banega Crorepati, as in KBC. At that time it was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and we were still trying to arrive at the correct name and title. I have already reached out to Mr. Bachchan, and so that discussion has started. Siddharth Vasu has already been sort of hired as the producer who's going to make this show, and we're doing this meeting now. So there are all sorts of people. There's Rupert Murdoch, there's Bruce Churchill, Chase Carey, Peter, Raj, Sumo, all my colleagues, Steve Askew, my colleague from Hong Kong, and we are presenting this, right? As in we are presenting the plan. So as always, plans get presented is that you want to set up a context. So you want to say that, this is where we are at, and here's what we're going to do. So the first slide I put up is, of course, it shows Z at 12, me at 11, and Star at 1, right? In sort of gross rating points. So the first thing Rupert, of course, does is to thump on the table and say, I don't ever want to see this crappy slide ever again. So then Steve leans into him and says that, yeah, those are the previous guys. This is the new guy. This is the guy who's going to, fix it. Those are the guys you got rid of, kind of.
Okay.
Then, he looks at me and says, like, keep moving. So we move on to the next slide, which is now presenting the strategy of, we're going to strike the programming. We're going to do this show. It's called, we're going to do Millionaire. So he was quite pleased with that. And he said, what do you call it? We say, Millionaire, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire translates to Kaun Banega Lakhpati.
No one thought of a crore. That was too big an amount at that time, right?
It was just a thing. A million, actually, 100,000. So it becomes 10 million in that sense. But it was not much thought had been given to it in that sense. It was a number. So then Rupert turns and asks that, what's a lakh? So then we tell him that, the lakh at that time, I think, was some $4,000 or $5,000. I don't know what it was. To which then he thinks for a minute and says, oh, that's pathetic. So he says, what's the next thing? So then the answer comes out, that would be a crore. So he says, then how much is that? So he said, that's $250,000. So he says, oh, that's much better. So then that's it. Then it went from Kaun Banega Lakhpati to Kaun Banega Crorepati in, approximately 5-10 seconds. And then we sort of went along from there.
Wow, that's a legend. That's a legend. It's made it to books, and everyone in the industry, everyone in television, everyone knows about it. And that's how I think that was redefining of television in 2000s. And a lot of things happened post that, right? And KBC still continues.
KBC still continues. And I think, obviously it was a great format. So it has already been a successful show all over the world. I think, Mr. Bachchan agreeing to do it, because at the end of the day, it's a decision for him to make. And it was a personal decision that he took because, many people were against it. But finally, in the final analysis, for all my convincing, he had to take that decision and do it. And he did. He took that chance and we, went ahead and did that. And then, of course, as I've always said, that KBC's impact was immediate and overpowering. It was not a slow burn. It was not a slow start, nothing. I think KBC opened at 10 rating. And
yes, I remember it was 9.7. I have the exact number, but I want to give you an analogy to what 9.7 meant.
Right.
Prime time, 40% of the country would be watching television.
Right.
40%. So the rest of the TVs either would be off, people are traveling or moving around. And a TVR of 9.7 meant that 9.7 out of 40, which is 25% of the people watched the complete show.
Right.
Or half of the country watched half the show. Right. 25% watched at least a part of the show. Right. That's a huge number, and it's never happened again, except for the K series that followed.
Right. No, and actually the thing what happened also then, like, I mean, that time we even did promos and, stuff like that, you're walking, you can hear the sound of the music, you can hear the title song, the da, 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 da.
Correct.
You can actually hear you walk in your building, in everywhere. And no, of course, it was outstanding. And actually,
Moments when you walk down and you heard those sounds, and would Amitabh, Mr. Bachchan, and you chat up and saying, "Wow, we made it big and you got it right." What those things that we don't know about during
well,
those.
actually, I don't know. See, we were producing the show, right? So the show went on air. I mean, when the night it went on air, I was in Film City with the entire crew and team. Mr. Bachchan didn't come for that thing because he said, "Listen, I don't want to be there on that opening night when it's going on air." A bunch of my senior colleagues from Star were in another colleague's house. And the show went on air. And actually, on that night, I didn't get any phone calls. I mean, my phone was not ringing on that night. I always chose to describe that night as the reason why I didn't get a phone call is because, it was just left them speechless. So nothing to call. So I've always chosen to, explain it that way. And I never got a call. Then the whole week went by and people were like, and this and that. But when the ratings came, and then when we actually saw the consumer reaction to it, and then actually many things played out, like the minute the show went on, the minute you saw it, and the minute you liked Mr. Bachchan, and, you sort of, you like the show, you like the format, and, AB with his baritone voice and his question and answer, his affable nature, all of that stuff suddenly brought back, a flood of memories. You must remember that at that time in 2000, we used to always say, right, the remote is in the hand of the parents and in the hand of the wife, right, in the hand of the mother of the house. The mother of the house was an Amitabh Bachchan fan. It was the daughter who was the Shah Rukh Khan, right? So actually, the people who controlled the remote in 2000 were Bachchan fans. They were the ones who were the 35 to 45-year-old group, right? They were that audience. And so when you see your favorite now sitting on screen, and then like really going for it, and then suddenly switching from Hindi to English, and all that Namaskar Mataji, computer ji, lock kiya jaye, all that thing. It was like you're almost turning to your teen son and saying, "Isko dekho, ye hai mera hero."
Absolutely. What a brilliant pull off. What a master stroke that was for the television industry and for Mr. Bachchan as well, and for Star.
I think everyone, yeah. And actually on the same night of KBC, which was July 3rd, 2000, Kyunki went on air. Kyunki went on air at 10:30, the same night. And it sort of grew.
Was born big and they just exploded.
Yeah, I mean, Ekta had already done some pretty good work before that. She had done some very successful soap in South India. She had done a very good comedy on Z called Hum Panch. So, I mean, she was just waiting to, sort of break out and, become the queen of soap. And I think that happened as well. So, yeah, it sort of turned out okay for all involved, I suppose.
Yeah, super. I think that was the most important piece that anyone would chat with you on any chat, right? So, moving on to COVID, what we are all now locked up in a lockdown in, right? Locked up in a lockdown in. So, how is it impacting your business now? Applause Entertainment production would have come to a complete halt, right? So.
Right. So what's happened is that, I mean, directly for us, we had a lot of shows in production. We completed most of them. We had just 2 shows that were actually in the middle of production when the lockdown happened. So to that extent, we've been fortunate, personally. A lot of the other shows that were already ready and complete, we've been able to license, which have even come out. So like, for example, in the past weeks, a show called Manford Ganj released on MX Player. And then just a couple of 10 days back, we released Hasmukh on Netflix. So, I mean, in that sense, it's, business is going on. Ditto, we've, produced many other shows which are being licensed. We have shows in post-production. So that work has stopped. So production and post-production work has stopped. We didn't have too much in production, so that's okay. But this is actually an industry-wide thing. I think, production has stopped, post has stopped. So I guess what we are doing at Applause is spending a lot of our time in focusing on development, on writing, on planning the shows. We had anyway for some reason decided in February to defer all new productions to post monsoon. Why we decided that is, I guess, divine intervention, but that is what was decided, and so that's what we are doing. So I mean, we are really preparing for all our shoots that are to start post monsoon, which is September, October, November, December, that period. So we're just getting organized with the writing, casting, budgeting, contracting, forward sales, those kind of things.
Yes. Just think, you're so big into production. Today was again another tragedy of Hook shutting down their operation, right? Because of the fact that a lot of content creators are going direct as well, right? Since you create such lovely content,
Mhm.
would you think that's a good model? Because why would you create such lovely content and sell it off where you have the backing of the Birla Group to go on your own, create a nice big OTT platform? Unless you don't want to answer that.
We sort of discussed that. I think it's like really dividing, looking at this market in sort of phases. I think as far as the OTT business is concerned and the streaming business is concerned, we are in phase one. This is World War One. So I mean, there are really big players, different all sorts. There are the big foreign players. There are all the Indian broadcasters. There are a couple of individuals, smaller companies. So it's a crowded market, and there's lots of people, lots of action, a lot of excitement. Currently, at this point in time, our business is built on the principle of we are a content studio. We create content. We're putting money where our mouth is. We're taking risks, and we create the content and then we license it. So we're not selling it outright. We're licensing it to these platforms. And I think at this point in time, with all the platforms and the real big appetite of consumers and the opportunity that is there, I think it's a good model. I don't think we should really look at adding one more platform to the mix just yet. I'm sure this can be a discussion point in 3 years later to see who won World War One. Then we can figure out what happens in World War Two.
Well put. I think that's very well put. I've got a colleague who's waiting to get admitted. Admitted, that's the jargon that Zoom uses. So to get into the call, right? So we said we're going to share some data on how OTT platforms are performing. So let me just see if I can admit.
In case you think that my screen is getting, in case you think my screen is getting darker, let me know.
You're absolutely fine. There's nothing. Your screen is fine. You're perfectly fine. So
The
I've
light will keep here.
the light will keep diminishing. So I've got a colleague, Shantanu. He's on the call, and I think Shantanu, you can see us. You can't see us. Okay, you can see us.
We can see him.
You can see him. He's wearing a jacket as well, and he's combed up his hair, I believe. So Shantanu, can you? You're on. Can you hear us? You're on mute. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You're on mute. Now you can. Can you hear?
Yes, I can.
So
Yes.
you've got 1 minute. That was the time that Amitabh used to give to all the participants, right? You got
Right.
to walk us through the slides that you have out of COT. Sameer, just to give introduction, we spoke about COT. We're just launching it, but all the data of how OTT platforms are working. You gave a fantastic feedback on the awareness of the shows, right? That feedback as well is coming. I haven't seen the data, but let's see what he has to say. And on a screen share, Shantanu, so let's have a look at that.
Sure. Right.
Amir can comment on that. It's called the COT, which is the Chrome OTT Index, and it gives you information
Right.
on what's happening. Wow, that looks like a fancy dashboard.
Right. So what you can see, I believe you can see the free screens as well. So currently, Sameer, what I'm showing you is I'm showing you somewhere around September 19, where hostilities was one of the rage in the market.
Right.
And to begin with, to start with, this is the audience poll, which section shows the platform as to what's the visibility, what's the OTS, that is the opportunity to see for them. So currently, Hotstar, as you might be aware, is leading the entire market with a massive share of 56.9%. That would be amount to somewhere around 323 million subscribers, right? Followed by, of course, Voot,
That's okay,
Z5, and
details of the platform. But broadly, that tells you the downloads of each of the platforms. Okay.
Right, right. So if I go back in September 2019, hostilities was trending way more as per the audience poll. It was having a 21% of market share of all OTT platforms that was being, all the shows that were being aired, followed by It's Not That Simple and Hello Mini, which was again Applause Entertainment production on MX Player. Right, so you got your two shows.
Shantanu, that's what you're saying.
That's good.
Right. So this is what this depicts. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to come to the present scenario. So currently, this is week just a moment, week 18, and I put on apply filter. Sorry, 16, and I put on apply filter.
Wow.
That you see, again, Hotstar is again leading with 57.1%. That has, they have taken another leap
Right.
in terms of this thing. And coming to shows,
Right.
obviously Special Ops, KK Menon has done a fantastic job. But again, Applause Entertainment is featuring over here into Code M and Bhokal, 6%.
And Hostages, Criminal Justice, Hello Mini, Bhokal, Code M is not ours, Mind the Malhotras is ours, and Hasmukh is ours.
Hasmukh, of course. You know, to be honest, Sameer, why this all the old shows like Hostage, I was also watching this with my parents a couple of days ago, has come back because of the lockdown effect. TV, nothing is being coming up. So that's where all the old shows are being rerun at present. So that's where it is featuring over here.
Right.
10 seconds,
So-
Shantanu.
Right. So, sorry. So I'll move on to the next aspect of this. That's called a heat map.
Right.
Now, in this, what we can do is we have the entire India map. We can see via platform which platform is performing better in which state of the country. We can select it via reach, via sentiment, via OTS. We can have a time zone over here. We can select any of the platforms that you can see over here. And right now it's having some data and it will show you as the live viewership for the particular
Basically,
platform.
what you can do is on the map of India, you can really see what content is being consumed in which part of the country, and you can dissect it obviously to demographics, right?
Right, that's absolutely right, Pankaj. And the third part, which is by like you rightfully mentioned, you know, you have to select the cast and crew for any of the shows. So I bring you top artist. This
Okay.
is basis a survey done across 70,000 people every week, and after this games,
Right.
most favorite Pankaj Tripathi. Pankaj Tripathi lies here. It's 73.654. Every person wants to watch Pankaj Tripathi starting Mirzapur or Criminal Justice. Anywhere he is being loved. So that's what it shows. So top artists, heat map showing which state is watching what, and the top shows trending and the top platform that are trending are the outcomes of COT.
So
That's
Pankaj
Chrome OTT.
Tripathi is the superstar of OTT.
Yeah.
Right. Pankaj Tripathi is the superstar of OTT. Yes.
Super. That's great news. We are working with him on Criminal Justice Season 2 as Madhav Mishra is continuing activities. So we are super excited to hear that.
I'm sure the result will be
That's a
fantastic.
big announcement, I think. So when are you coming with Criminal Justice 2?
Well, that is one of the shows that is in production. The shooting has been stopped. So as soon as the lockdown lifts, we'll get back to filming. We've got only about 30-40% left to go. So that will be one of the first things that come straight after this this lockdown.
And this is my personal question, Sameer, from you. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, but Hello Mini, I loved that series of Applause Entertainment. I'm still waiting for season 2. I don't know when it's gonna come, but it was fantastic. So, any highlights on that?
Novanil wrote 3 books. We are doing season 2 and season 3 together now, as in writing and producing them, and they'll of course release one by one.
Right.
It's in writing.
Right.
Production as soon as we can. We were anyway supposed to start in around mid-May. Now it'll probably go to mid-June, but it's going to start. Yeah. We are on the job, my friend.
Right.
We're working hard.
Great.
Thank you so much, Shantanu. Lovely.
Thank you so much, Pankaj. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sameer. Pleasure meeting you.
Thanks.
You got to exit, so you can watch.
Sure, I will. Sure. Thank you.
That's being really crude and rude.
Right, but I'm gonna do that.
Division at Chrome DM. So he's a colleague, so I can take the liberty with him.
Sure.
I think
Thanks.
Shantanu, thanks. So Sameer, I was again, one thing that I would want to understand from you, since you have a fantastic experience of linear TV and OTT as well. We were going through some numbers, and I've asked another colleague, another guest on a panel. Obviously, there is a legacy. Television has been there for a long time.
Right.
OTT is relatively new. If you were to look at the advertising revenues or the subscription revenues, the gap is huge.
Right.
India and globally. It's huge. It is 1:2. I can give the number. So India television advertising is at 25,000 crores, and OTT is like 1% of that, 2%. Same thing for subscription. You're looking at 12,000 crores on subscription that goes to all the broadcasters, whereas the numbers for OTT are like 10% of that. but the time spent is not that low.
Right.
Time spent on TV is almost 3.5 hours vis-a-vis OTT at about 1 hour, which is 1/3. Globally, it's catching up,
Right.
right? And the world is moving to that. How fast do you see OTT exploding to television? Like it's a long path.
Actually, you know what? First of all, you got to look at the TV numbers in the context of 20, 25 years of growth.
That's exactly what Tarun Katyal said. We had the same chat on this one. So one is leaving the context, right? How long do you see this OTT really exploding? Is it like?
Well, the thing really is that, honestly, people, I mean, no, a lot of people, a lot of my industry colleagues love to talk about a peaceful coexistence of all mediums and how everyone will grow and all of that will happen. I sort of, often tend to disagree with that, because I don't think there is enough money in the market to have 12,000 crores of, subscription revenue for TV and then another 10,000 crores of subscription revenue for OTT. Ditto for advertising. There is some degree of overlap for various mediums, but then finally, money must change hands. There's only so much money in the market. There's only so much money in the wallet, right? So over time, people must make those choices. People must, advertisers will make those choices, all of that. Like if you take Netflix, for example, as an example, Netflix has got 150 million customers globally who, according to them, consume 2 or 3 hours of Netflix every day, right? Now, those 150 million customers globally who are consuming, 2 or 3 hours of, streaming content every day are not exposed to any form of advertising for those 3 hours, right? At all, because they are paying a subscription fee and getting on with it. They don't seem to feel the need for advertising.
Yeah.
They're not missing it, right, as consumers.
Yes.
So, I mean, the world is changing in different ways. One big thing that this lockdown does is that having locked us all down, is that it's, made everyone sample OTT platforms. A lot of people who are locked up who are happy with their TV. Now, a whole day they're in the house and they're asking their children and they're asking their younger, family members, what's this, what's that, and all of that is happening. They're being introduced to it. All the OTT platforms have got different sort of, schemes and offers and this free and that free and all of that is happening. And I think a giant Indian audience is being forcibly introduced to OTT. That guys, all these wonderful things exist in this place and why don't you check it out? My mom is 86 years old. I introduced my mom. She saw Madhavan, the actor Madhavan. She's a big fan of his. And she saw a promo of, what was the Breathe, the first season. She saw one of the promos on Colors or something and said, "Hey, what is this show? I want to see it." So I got Amazon for her and downloaded the app and gave it to her. And for her, it was like it was like taking a kid to a candy store because, they had all the movies and it had, and when she saw that resume play feature, she was dazzled, like what is this? Because others on TV, you got all those ad breaks and then the movie and then you miss it and it goes on till midnight. And here, you're watching the movie at around 10:30, you're feeling sleepy, you press pause, you go to sleep, you get up in the morning. It reminds you, it tells you you were watching this. And then when you press play, it takes on from there. It's like dazzling, it's like magic, right? All this stuff. And that is what the lockdown has done, is that it's introduced a very, very large population to all these amazing features and amazing things that are possible with OTT. And so I think it's going to be a big beneficiary. I think it's fair to assume that once everything is back to normal, in whatever normal is defined as, that immediately everything will be the same. Things change, stars change, likes change. What was a hit show may not be a hit show anymore. What are other likes and dislikes for would have changed. There are so many things that happen. There is a whole range of consumer behavior that sort of gets affected. So I think in the next 5 years, you're going to see a lot of change. I wouldn't hazard a guess to say by when will OTT overtake TV. It may be, in 3 years, it may be in 5 years, it may be like even sooner. Remember, everything comes with its own problems and complications, right?
And it's very difficult to predict. It's a very dynamic world.
No, and there are so many other things happening. A lot of like broadcast television has always been driven by sport, right? Now sport is shut. If sport is shut, then you are saying that, okay, but people can't go and attend a sporting event, but the guys can still play. But now how will a sporting event happen with an empty stadium and people playing, but we'll still watch it because we want to watch sport, right? Yeah. So, I mean, technically speaking, we'd love to watch Wimbledon. Somebody's just got to go there and play, right? And so, I mean, different things will happen.
Absolutely. I think you spoke on the subscription versus advertising model, and how beautiful OTT is because there is no ads. You can pause, play, forward, skip ads, or watch no ads. I want to ask you something which is not related to applause, not related to production or creativity. It's very general to the industry. I firmly believe, and I want your views on that. News as a business should be purely subscription driven. The moment it gets advertising driven, there is a conflict of interest, right? Because you've got a client paying you tons of money, and then the same client has got a news which you really want to think whether you're going to go ahead or not, right? There's an editorial conflict there. What's your view? Should news be purely subscription driven, and there should be no advertising on news?
It's a tough call because one is that we have too much news, right? We in any case had too much news, and now with the internet, we have too much news. We have way too much information. Sources of information are so many. The other thing is that how many people are actually willing to pay for news, right? I think that if you convert the entire news business into a subscription-driven model, I think 90% of your news outlets will die, right? Because no one can pay for so much news. In fact, the reason why advertising got invented in the first place is that if you notice something, we like to call ourselves media, right? You say you work in the media. I say I work in the media, and what do we think we are doing as media? We are creating content and we're doing something meaningful or entertaining or informative, right? You think you're making a difference, right? To your users and consumers and viewers. But have you ever spoken to an advertiser and a media buying company? When you speak to them, when you speak to the agencies, they refer to you as a media vehicle, right? They don't call you media. They think you're a media vehicle. So what are you? You are somebody who's getting them to their consumers. You're helping them reach their consumers. They're using you to get to them. And so in that context, they come to you and say, okay, you reach out to a male audience, or you reach out to female, so you've got this TG and you've got that TG, and therefore I can spend some money because my product needs to get to them. That's that relationship. It's always been a complicated relationship. When you call it the soap opera came out of a term of the soap. The term soap comes from actually the Procter and Gamble, who was the main advertiser for the drama in the afternoon.
I wanted to hear that. So if you could add to this also, the FCT, how FCT came along. Many people might not know that. And why is it called free commercial time when you actually pay for it? Is because way back. Sorry, you want to talk about that, please?
Why don't you tell us that?
So way back during the needy days, people would support content and they would get tags brought to you by.
Exactly.
And that's all. That's what it was. And then when these advertisers came saying that they wanted to display their product, so they got 30 seconds or a minute to create their own product video and run it free during the break. And that's how FCT came, right? The soap, sorry, you take it from there and please tell us more. The soap, many people don't know about the soap.
The term daily soap opera comes out of, a classic. And in fact, in many ways, advertising also drove and guided that creative sort of thought, which is that essentially we've got women in the house in the afternoon, and they are, involved in a whole range of housework. We want to create content for them which they can watch and like and enjoy. And in that, we can sell a whole range of P&G product, which is or lever product or whatever that is. And so a lot of the storylines and the storytelling got driven in that format. It was very low cost programming. It's not very expensive to do that. It's not like making 24 or doing some fancy Game of Thrones. It's like really simple kind of stuff. And it was a smash hit, and it was driven by advertising. So I don't think you can wish away advertising. We shouldn't want to wish away advertising, because also what happens is that at the end of the day, advertisers need to reach consumers, right? So and the only way they can reach consumers is through media, because how else? How else are you going to tell me about, the new improved Pepsi? You've got to find a way to tell me about it, right?
And the strongest, most powerful vehicle.
And all sorts of things are happening. So, some people are talking about immersive content. Some people are talking about, brands integrated into content. There are ways and ways of doing it. I'm sure more and more things will come up. But I don't think the content or the news business or the entertainment business is going anywhere. It'll keep mutating. It'll keep changing. And I don't think the advertiser who needs to get to consumers is going anywhere, because they are both integral part of our life, right? I was just watching, I keep rewatching Jerry Seinfeld again. And I was just watching this one little piece where he was talking about the commercials on TV. And he said that I don't get it. What are these guys? They are having, I'm drinking the exact same product, and I'm like just sitting here and being pretty normal. But the person on the screen is like drinking the Pepsi and then jumping in the air and, running on the beach and, spiking a volleyball. And, I mean, what's going on? Like maybe I put too much ice in mine.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. I think that's amazing. Fantastic, Sameer. Fantastic chatting up. The soap was a big revelation to many people. I can vouch for that. Right? Everyone confused. Why is a soap opera called a soap? Yeah, So I think that's great. It was super chatting up with you. Generally, this lasts for 15 minutes. We've crossed 45 minutes, and I think it was
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. Okay.
I don't know how time went by. It was so much fun chatting up with you. I just want to leave everyone with one of the intro lines where we started off from. And anyone who's worked with Star, most of us who are going to be watching this 2000, I say this to all the people. Most of the people who are leading a business uh, are most probably have been somewhere associated with the Star 2000, 2009, 2008 batch in some form of the other. And just to recap where we started off from, when Star Plus went from 50 out of 50 shows to 48 out of 50 shows, that was panic. And that's the definition of dominance, right? And Sameer Nair, the man behind it, Sameer, you are a celebrity, right? And it is so much, it is so good to have you. And thank you for agreeing to come on and chat with us on Chrome Talkies.
Thank you so much. I hope to see how this whole thing turned out. So we look out for that. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Sameer. Thank you very much. We shall meet soon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.